Episode 1: The Flame Beneath the Forge. Long ago, when darkness blanketed the world and kingdoms fell to ruin, two warriors clashed beneath a fractured sky. One cloaked in shadow and fury, the other wielding a glowing blade pulsing with the power of the sun, the Sword of Hope. As their blades collided, fire split the clouds and mountains trembled. In one final strike, the light wielder drove the blade into the heart of evil, ending the war that had threatened to erase humanity. Since then, the Sword of Hope vanished, said to return only once every 1,000 years. To choose a new bearer, someone with unmatched strength, unshakable resolve, and a heart pure enough to carry the will of the world. Now, 1,000 years later, in the humble forge of a quiet village, a boy named Zen labors beneath the weight of his father's legacy. The forge crackled with heat as Zen slammed his hammer into glowing steel, sweat dripping from his brow. His father, Harry, once a respected warrior, now a blacksmith, watched with folded arms and a judgmental eye. "You're hitting too soft again, Zen," he grunted. "Steel doesn't bend for weak arms." Zen kept pounding away, each strike stronger than the last. "I can hit harder." "Just one more," he replied, jaw clenched. Harry snorted and turned away. "You've got fire, sure, but spirit doesn't win battles. Muscle does." Zen lowered his hammer, his eyes lingering on the half-shaped blade before him. His voice was barely a whisper. "It's not muscle that forged legends." Harry didn't hear him. Or maybe he just didn't want to. Later that morning, in the heart of the village square, Zen met with his friends beneath the towering statue of the Sword of Hope. Kyla Mitchell arrived first, graceful as always, her long silver white hair flowing with elegance. She had the presence of royalty because she was born from it. Her mother, once married to King Keelan the Invincible, had abandoned the palace after a public scandal revealed the king's betrayal. Kyla didn't carry that shame though. She carried something else, an aura. As she walked, she calmed crying children with a simple hug and made the wind itself move to her rhythm. She had inherited powerful sound manipulation abilities, and she mastered them with poise. "You ever sleep, Zen?" she asked with a teasing smile. "Barely," Zen replied. "Dad's got me on sunrise shift." Moments later, Ron stumbled onto the scene, panting and covered in dirt. "I swear to the heavens, a raccoon with fangs chased me all the way here," he yelled. Kyla rolled her eyes. "That's the third fang raccoon this week, Ron." Zen chuckled as Ron scratched his head. "Okay, maybe it was a fox or a squirrel, but it looked shady." Before they could argue more, Amy appeared without a sound, stepping out from behind a tree. "It was a fox," she said plainly, her tone quiet but sharp. Ron nearly jumped out of his boots. "Amy, you've got to stop doing that." Amy tilted her head. "Or maybe you should stop being so easy to scare." They laughed together, sharing food and stories, enjoying their final days of peace. Zen glanced toward the stone carving of the Sword of Hope, silently admiring it. "They say only the strongest can ever touch it," he murmured. "Maybe it's not just about strength," Kyla offered. "Maybe it's about the will to use it." Ron nodded enthusiastically. "Or maybe you just gotta be crazy enough to try." Their laughter was interrupted by the sound of trumpets blaring through the town. A royal procession marched into the square, led by none other than King Keelan himself, mounted atop a massive white steed. The crowd fell silent as he raised his gauntleted hand. "All who have turned 18 this year step forward," he declared. Zen, Kyla, Ron, Amy, and many others obeyed, standing shoulder to shoulder. Keelan's voice carried across the plaza. "The path to the unknown world opens in 5 days. The champion's trial will begin. One among you may reach the Sword of Hope. The rest will return broken, if at all." The tension was broken by a familiar, arrogant voice. "Hope you brought a helmet, Zen," Ox sneered, stepping into view with his elite team behind him. "You'll need it after I flatten you." Zen didn't flinch. "Good idea," he replied calmly. "I'll bring 2, one for you, after I knock yours off." Mac, Ox brawler, let out a bark of laughter. "Oh." The little blacksmith's got some bite. Behind Ark stood 4 powerful teammates. Kelly, poised and deadly, known for her time-freezing eyes. Mac, loud and unstoppable, whose strength grew with his fury. Lee, the quiet swordsman who never missed. And Chell silent, shy, and blushing as she looked at Zen. She waved awkwardly, mumbling, "Hi Zen." Ron leaned in and whispered, "Jude, she's looking at you like you're chocolate cake." Zen blinked. "What?" Ron grinned. "She wants a slice." That night, while the village slept, Zen trained alone in the woods. He moved through brutal drills, push-ups, strikes, sprints until his body gave out and he collapsed face down in the dirt.
But even then, he didn't stop.
I'm not strong, but I'm not weak either, he told himself. Not if I keep going. He remembered the night as a child when Harry collapsed from exhaustion while chopping wood, and how Zen quietly picked up the axe and kept chopping until sunrise. That memory fueled him now. Determined, Zen sprinted along the edge of a mountain path, eyes closed, pushing through exhaustion. He didn't see the cliff edge until it was too late. He tripped and fell,
but the impact never came.
Instead, he floated,
suspended in air. Zen opened his eyes to find himself hovering above the cliff face.
I'm not falling, he said aloud, breathless.
I'm
flying?
Slowly, he drifted down to the ground, his heart racing with wonder and confusion.
Later that night, Zen couldn't sleep.
Something had changed in him.
Out his window, a figure stood in the distance, cloaked and watching. A whisper reached his ears. So, he awakens early, but when he looked again, the figure was gone. Inside the house, Harry sat sharpening a blade.
You were flying today, weren't you?
He asked without turning. Zen blinked. You saw?
Harry chuckled.
I may limp like an old mule, but I've still got eyes. Zen hesitated.
I don't know how I did it. Harry smiled, eyes softening.
Your grandfather did once.
Right before your grandma slapped him for flirting with the baker's daughter.
Zen stared. Seriously? That's serious.
He had the scar to prove it. After the laughter faded, Zen asked quietly, Do you think I'm ready?
Harry didn't answer immediately.
Then he said, No. Zen's shoulders sagged. Oh. But Harry leaned in, voice firm. But you were more ready than any of those kids who never had to bleed for a dream. Up on the ridge that night, Ark stood with Lee, both looking down at the glowing valley.
Zen's not weak, Ark muttered.
He's hiding something.
Lee nodded.
Then we break him open and find out what.
The next morning, as Zen stood at the edge of the village with Kyla, Ron, and Amy, the sun rising behind them,
Kyla asked, 5 days until we risk our lives for a magic sword.
You scared? Ron raised his hand. PSHH. Nope.
Terrified, maybe. But scared? Never. Amy adjusted her cloak.
I've already packed our supplies. Zen tied cloth around his wrists, looking out toward the mountains. Then let's make sure they remember our names.
The wind howled. The world shifted.
The journey had begun.